Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the University of Minnesota Alumni Association's webinar series. My name is Ambrisha Frazier, and I'm Director of Student and Recent Alumni Relations here at the Alumni Association, and I'm happy to be your host today. Thank you to all alumni, students, and friends who have made time to join us live. Creating an appropriate and impactful career wardrobe is an important yet often overlooked part of workplace success. Our featured speaker today will cover the basics of a career wardrobe that will take you from interviewing to a day at the office to networking activities. This webinar will also include common do's and don'ts for the office, as well as tips on budget-friendly retailers to ensure you're dressing your best for career success. Today's webinar is part of an ongoing free series being offered by the University of Minnesota Alumni Association, where we're having conversations with experts about career, life, and learning topics. Since we launched the series a couple of years ago, we've had over 4,300 alumni and friends join us live and over 12,000 YouTube views and expansions of our webinar library. We like to take the time to thank our Alumni Association members. Because of you, initiatives like this are made possible. And if you're interested in becoming a member, visit umnalumni.org/membership. This webinar is being recorded and will be viewable afterwards, and I'll also send the video link to all webinar registrants after the event. All of our webinar recordings live on our Alumni Association YouTube page and our Goldmine website, where we archive all of the webinars, which you can find by visiting umnalumni.org/virtual. And you'll also find details for upcoming webinars on there as well. And you see we have one next week on Ask a Career Coach. So tune in and get some questions answered about your career. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's webinar. You have joined the presentation listening using your computer speaker system. If you would prefer to listen over the telephone, just select telephone in your audio pane of your webinar panel, and dial-in information will be displayed. If you experience any audio challenges while listening via your computer speakers, this can be caused by having multiple applications up on your computer in the background, which can sometimes affect your network performance. So feel free to close any unnecessary applications on your computer while viewing the webinar. Questions are definitely welcome during this webinar, and you may submit them during any time. So just be sure to type in your questions in the questions pane on your GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll be monitoring them along the way. So please be sure to submit your questions, ideas for our presenter today. We definitely want to hear from you. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce today's featured speaker, Sarah Fassner. Sarah is a Twin Cities personal stylist with The Stylist Online. Sarah believes looking great should be accessible to anyone on any budget. She loves to help clients add that extra splash to their closet through color, pattern, texture, and accessories. As a frugal Midwesterner, Sarah seeks out the deals and steals and finds great pleasure in sharing them with her clients. Her goal is for clients to wake up each day just as excited about their closet as they are about their coffee. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Ambrisha and the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. I am particularly thrilled to be here because I formerly spent about 12 years on campus as part of the Office for Student Affairs. So this is a thrill for me to be here in a different capacity and to share my current, I guess, lifelong passion with all of you, and hopefully give some useful tips for you going forward. So I am a certified personal stylist, and what I will highlight before we even get started is that personal styling is just that. It's very personal and individual. So things we will go over today are more on the basic level. I do encourage you, as Ambrisha said, to submit questions. We're happy to answer those at the end of the webinar, and we've definitely dedicated some time towards that. So please ask questions. They're often very helpful for not only you, but others listening. I am a stylist with The Stylist Online, and in that capacity I work with female clients in discovering their style through body type analysis and helping them select appropriate silhouettes for their body type. I do also work with men through a company called J. Hilburn, where we have custom menswear in both the professional and casual capacity. So hopefully, regardless of who you are, you're going to find some helpful tips today. So in laying out the agenda for the webinar, we'll highlight first sort of wardrobe impact overall. Who's actually talking about this topic and how can it affect your work? Then we'll dive into assessing your style. So this is determining if your wardrobe is appropriate for the environment that you're either in or going to be in, and if it's meeting your career objectives. I like to tell people not every job or profession requires the same style, so you really want to analyze what your environment is. Next, we'll move into rules in dressing for success. So some information on just some basic rules of how to. And then moving on to some of the simple style must-haves for any wardrobe, the basics that you'll need to get started with your career wardrobe. And then finally, answering those questions. So just to sort of give you a scope on how hot this topic is, there are many people discussing what's appropriate and how can they dress for success. In fact, right now, if you did search on Amazon, there are more than 1,000 books on this topic, and that's increased from hundreds just 2 years ago. And I think that has to do with how much fashion and style and wardrobe are out there right now in terms of celebrities, whether local or national, and just it's a hot topic. Everyone is wanting to look their best and put their best foot forward. So in doing Google searches, there are more than 4.5 million hits on the topic of dress for success. I think what this says to us is it's proving that there are many people seeking information on style. It's not necessarily something that is common knowledge or common sense. And I think that is known if you're someone like me who addresses this on a daily basis. I like to think of dressing as a bit of an art form. Your body is a blank canvas, and your clothes can give a variety of impressions and personas to the world. So we all want to be careful and considerate in thinking about the way we're presenting ourselves and making sure it is what we want people to see. Dressing appropriately for the position you're in can give you confidence, and it certainly may even help in landing a job or getting a promotion. A survey developed by Office Team reported that 93% of managers polled said that an employee's style of dress at work influences his or her chances of earning a promotion. This was 150 executives were polled from 1,000 companies. So I think it just highlights how much managers are considering this when they're sort of thinking of your overall package that you bring to a position. You obviously still need to do all the work, right? You need to present yourself appropriately, meet all the deliverables, go beyond expectations, have a presence for that next level position. But on top of that, I think you really need to be well dressed. Managers will visualize the employee in a future role, and a well-dressed person is certainly easier to visualize in that next position. I always found that as a young professional, I really needed to pay attention to the way I was dressing to help in terms of my confidence and credibility. When I was formerly in the events management field and just beginning in that career, many of my clients were considerably older and more seasoned than I was, and I knew I had to do just a little bit extra to prove that I was knowledgeable in the field and that I could produce results for their event that they could be confident in. So I really paid attention when I was either meeting new clients or executing events on their event date that I was dressed appropriately so that they could feel confident about how things were going to go. So more than 70% of executives surveyed agreed that workplace attire affects an employee's state of mind and or overall behavior, and therefore his or her productivity. 63% agreed that employees who wear more professional attire do advance faster in their careers. So many of us have heard the saying, dress for the job you want, not the one that you have. A 2016 article in GQ.com titled, "Turns Out Dressing for the Job You Want Actually Works," explains that pretending that no one cares or notices your office wardrobe isn't doing you any favors. Not only is confidence affected by your clothes, but people tend to make snap judgments about your abilities based on what you're wearing. So the next few slides are some visuals on side-by-side, various interpretations of office attire. So in our first slide, we're asking, out of these two people, who appears to be more professionally dressed? We have a poll on selecting whether or not you feel it's the person on the left or the person on the right. Right, so it looks like 60% of you said the person on the right is professionally dressed, and in this case probably has more authority overall. And what I will tell you is these two individuals are they're in different career fields. So the person on the left is a fashion consultant, and the one on the right is at the director level at a Fortune 500 company and oversees more than 60 people. So I would agree in a snap judgment, yes, the person on the right definitely appears more professional. However, we also truly need to consider your environment. The person on the left who is a fashion consultant, that's an appropriate appearance for someone who is maybe working with clients either out at retailers or at their home in their closet. So again, always considering what their position is and what field they're in. But yes, I would definitely agree with the 60% of you who said the person on the right. Okay, so our next visual, we're asking the same question. Who appears more professional out of the two individuals in these photos? Wow, results are definitely coming in very quickly for this one. I think it's just so apparent. We have 95% of you saying that the person on the right appears more professional, and I absolutely agree with that. So what I will tell you is that the person on the left is actually the CEO of 3 privately held companies. The person on the right is an owner of 1 private company. So I think what's happening is people definitely aren't always appearing the way you think they may based on how they're dressing. The person on the left is quite casual, half-zip sweater, khakis, some casual worn-in shoes, while the person on the right has just shirt and slacks on, and a belt to tie everything together, and some unnoticeable dark shoes to pull the look together. What I would stress here is sometimes minimizing what is noticed goes a long way. So in this case, I would say footwear completely made a difference, as well as accessorizing. But again, you're making a very, very quick snap judgment on these people without having them open their mouths. So it's happening all the time. It's pretty instant. Okay, let's move to the next one. We're asking again, who appears to be more professional based on their wardrobe on this day? And again, it's that snap judgment. It's coming in so quickly. 91% of you have said the person on the left, and I would absolutely agree. So these two individuals work for the same nonprofit. The person on the left is a vice president, and the person on the right is the president of the nonprofit. The person on the left definitely has a fitted top with subtle yet what I call fun features, dress pants and some prominent jewelry. And the person on the right, I would say, is more of a Saturday afternoon outfit with some chinos and Ugg boots. And I would say the person on the left definitely is geared up and ready for that next position. I would say, maybe people would assume, seeing the two of them upon first look, that the one on the left is actually the president of the nonprofit. All right, so our fourth and final visual we're asking once again, who in your opinion appears more professional? And there we go with results. 80% of you said the person on the right. So what I will tell you is this is the same person in both of the pictures, and it's the same day. We just did a side-by-side to show kind of how much better she could feel based on just choosing a different selection of pieces. On the right, she clearly appears pulled together and professional. There are better proportions in terms of jacket length. Belt and boot accessories are adding to a clean, crisp look. And on the left, it almost seems like, they're trying to cover up in that picture. I tend to work with a lot of clients, warning them against hiding anything they're not pleased with, and instead focusing on what should be highlighted. And I think this visual gives a really good example of when we're highlighting what's appropriate, how much more polished and professional and likely confident she's feeling going to the office. Okay, now we'll get into assessing your workplace style. What we need to consider first and foremost is, do you match your environment? Is a uniform required for your environment, and are you paying attention to how you're wearing that uniform? Do you feel like you're overdressing, sort of feeling like a Fortune 500 CEO in a casual work environment? Or do you feel like you're underdressing, casual but not professional, typical of what I would say Hollywood icons, how they might dress? And what I love to tell people is when in doubt, my opinion is that overdressing tends to be the best default, particularly for a job interview. Even if the environment or the workplace claims to be a casual environment, you're much better off appearing professional from the beginning. A good example, whether you're a new professional or a seasoned professional, is my husband is a sales professional, and for interviews in the past, he's wavered on wearing a suit to an interview because they claim they're a casual environment. I have always encouraged him to wear the suit even if he knows he'll be the only one wearing one. And I just have said you can always take the jacket off once you get there, but you can't just all of a sudden dress up if you're feeling uncomfortable once you're there. So he's never regretted taking that advice, saying that it was very clear that the employer understood he was taking the position seriously by dressing appropriately for the interview. Overall, our society tends to have this fear of overdressing, and I often have to remind clients that unless you're wearing a full-on tuxedo or a ball gown to a baseball game, there really shouldn't be any anxiety around overdressing. Once you deal with the environment, you really want to make sure that what you're wearing gives you confidence. And it might give you confidence, but people may not notice right away. So this particular quote, I was surprised that no one commented on my improved wardrobe, but I was more surprised that I felt and behaved more confidently. So colleagues may not immediately comment, but your overall demeanor will change, and that will definitely be noticed. While assessing a client's closet or shopping with them, I generally really encourage people to only buy or keep items that will evoke a confidence level of 8 or above on a scale of 1 to 10. This really helps ensure that you're essentially feeling like you have your favorite outfit on every day. Frankly, life is far too short to not feel great every day with all the challenges we have ahead of us. We may as well look great while we're dealing with them. So something to consider is, would I wear this outfit if I were asking for a promotion? I generally like to encourage folks to practice putting your best foot forward every day, not necessarily just for an interview or for asking a promotion, but in meeting your clients, in working with your colleagues. It has a lot more weight than we give it. So dress, that way every day. So the next two slides deal with interview looks. And these are things people have tried to wear to interviews. And so I want to talk through why something would be appropriate or inappropriate. And beginning with the one labeled negative, shorts are only potentially appropriate, I say, for an office where someone's in the fashion industry. And even then, for an interview, I would never encourage someone to wear shorts. I think they would need to wait until they got in that environment and see if that feels okay. The middle outfit is what we would consider neutral. Leather and in a above the knee, considerably above the knee skirt could be questionable based on their particular work environment. And the outfit on the right is positive. I think it's a great suit, quote unquote, suit look without wearing an actual suit. And I know that the woman on the right definitely felt confident going into an interview. There's great proportions in the items she's wearing, and she's appropriately covered. So looking at this next slide for interview looks, the one labeled negative is simply because untucked is just too casual for an interview. I would not advise anyone going in looking like, they're kind of in maybe weekend evening wear. The neutral outfit could be definitely appropriate based on the work environment. That may be a dressed up look in certain cases. And then on the right, the positive look, that certainly is almost always appropriate for an interview. So moving on into the rules in dressing for success, we really want to remember that convenience plus commitment will equal consistency. So convenience does require some pre-work on your end, involving learning what brands will work best for you and your body type. This is something that you can often meet just once with a stylist, and they can help you determine what is going to be best for your body type and just give you some advice on going out and shopping on your own or kind of picking through your closet on your own. Really, with any wardrobe, we want to choose an overall basic color palette. And then it's very helpful to organize your closet by color. This just makes it really easy in the morning to select things and kind of see it all in one space in an organized manner. Sometimes if we have too many choices, it creates a paralyzation and you almost freeze and then give up pretty easily on finding something that looks good, and then you'll just go to the fallback outfit because it's easy. So I think practicing commitment to being conscious of what you're choosing will help. I think the commitment is similar to, anyone who maybe is starting a workout program and they commit to going to the gym 3 days a week. If they commit to that, it's going to become practice. Just like, if you think about your outfit ahead of time and you say you're just going to do it 3 days a week, it's going to become habit. So that convenience of knowing what looks good on you and committing to it will equal you being consistent in paying attention to what you're wearing. So to highlight the overall rules, we really want to pay attention to your environment. You know that your manager is envisioning you at the next level at any given point, so consider that. And you really want to dress for the career position you want, whether it would be a promotion to a manager level or increase in compensation for your individual contribution. You need to dress with that professional role. Think of people who don't look the part, and they may be in the cube next to you. So based on those visuals that we went through, that you can tell right away. So use that same measurement up against yourself. And then I laugh at the Katy Perry and Snoop Dogg references, but I think celebrities are so entwined in the fashion world, it's easy to want to emulate them. And while I truly do believe there's a rock star or pop star inside all of us, we should pretty much steer clear of dressing like one most of the time. So moving into some of the really easy, simple must-haves for a wardrobe. I'm going to go through, and keep in mind, they're going to be pretty similar male to female, so just kind of pay attention to what the basics are and what resonates for you. So in terms of the female wardrobe, I would say black slacks, which are dress pants, a black or dark cardigan, darker denim, dark jeans. You're just going to feel more confident in that they provide a slimmer silhouette. Trouser jeans are a great way to still be dressed office appropriate, particularly if you're wearing them with a jacket on top or something a little more professional and authoritative on top. You definitely can get away with it. A crisp white shirt. Definitely some solid seasonal tops in various colors. LBD stands for little black dress. Definitely there are variations on what this means per individual, but something that is easy to pick out of your closet and add other things to, and it's going to be a surefire outfit to make you feel confident and excited about what you're wearing that day. belts and necklaces as accessories, and then I would add some basic shoes that maybe aren't drawing too much attention to the outfit in a negative way. So moving into simple style must-haves for the male side. Again, you're going to see some similar themes. So dark jeans, flat front chinos or slacks, dress pants, some dress shirts, and I put non-iron on there. If ironing is an obstacle for a reason why you wouldn't wear something, consider non-iron shirts. It could just be the convenience factor and mean that you'll look better if it's more convenient for you, which is absolutely appropriate. A black and or brown belt, and then same with the shoes. One suit that you can break into different pieces, and then a navy blazer. And please keep in mind that these are basics. Once you have these basics, I highly encourage adding in lots of pops of color that you can mix and match with some dark basics. Color and pattern can be easily and often inexpensively added through accessories, jewelry, footwear, and so I love to give that advice, particularly for the budget conscious. So talking in terms of an affordable career outfit, I've listed some national retailers that definitely have affordable pieces. I 100% believe that you don't have to spend a lot to look great and pulled together. In fact, it's one of the first things I tell clients as I explain that my role as a stylist is to help maximize what people already have or are going to purchase. I decided to sort of put my money where my mouth is this year, and I had a goal for 2016 to purchase 0 new clothing. So what I decided to do is I went through my closet, took out all of the items I hadn't worn in 2 or more years, and I took them to be consigned. And then if I'm going to treat myself, I can only use that consignment money at that particular store. So it is December 1st today. It appears I may meet my goal if I can just wait 31 more days, which I think I can if I've come this far. But it is possible. Once you do have the basics, you really can save money by minimizing what you purchase and making sure you're making smart choices that are going to just add to the basics that you have and create some new looks. So this final slide is just showing that at retailers like an H&M, there certainly are price points that can easily provide affordable basics and some fun accessories and pops of color and pattern and texture as well. So I love to answer questions. If you want to get a hold of me in the future and you're not comfortable asking your question today, I definitely am open to being contacted. I've listed my phone number as well as my email address, and you are certainly welcome to reach out and ask questions about how does a personal stylist work, you know, how much is it going to cost me, or just other questions about what was presented today.
Thank you, Sarah. You've definitely given us some great ways to think about how our wardrobe can help define our career path. So we have some questions coming in, which is really great. If you haven't had a chance to do so, please take the time and submit a question, and then we will go ahead and begin to answer some of these. Okay, so the first question is, what are trouser jeans?
Great question. Oftentimes they'll be listed while you're at the store. They will be identified for females typically. So it'll say it's a trouser jean or the person working at the store will be able to help you. For males, I would say the definition of that would mean dark, dark denim. So as dark as possible, almost to the point where you kind of can't tell if it's a pant or a denim. Those are going to gain a lot of mileage for you because you could wear them to work as well as on the weekend.
Okay, and what about if someone is in apple shape and they need to buy an interview look for a computer position in a nonprofit office, where should they start?
I love how specific that question is, first of all. So I know what an apple shape means. I have to do my plug here for the Stylist Online because the reason I was attracted to this type of styling is because I had a hard time accepting bodies being called fruits or shapes like circles or and so the way we do it is through a numbering system, and the highest number anyone can get is a 3. So it's not very intimidating. But I do understand what an apple shape means. And what I would say to that is if you're going to an interview, particularly with a nonprofit or with a for-profit company and you're an apple shape, you really want to have a jacket on that is going to highlight your waist or where your waist should be, where the smallest part of your torso should be. And then there are ways to do that by finding a jacket that when it buttons, the hemline of the jacket, and this is interesting describing this without showing a visual, the hemline of the jacket makes an upside down V. So I hope that helps visualize. But that's going to be the first thing you're going to want to do is define that small part of your torso.
Great, thank you. We have a couple questions around the theme of the assumption that being well dressed equals expensive, right? So can people tell if you buy, lower priced items maybe from JCPenney versus expensive items from Nordstrom? And does that matter?
It does not matter, and I am the example of that. Many of the things I buy may be consignment. They could be from somewhere like a JCPenney's versus a Nordstrom. I do what the industry calls mixing high and low. So I'll have certain pieces. Maybe I'll invest in the jacket I'm wearing or in the dress I'm wearing, but everything around it is going to be from a retailer that has lower price points. People can't tell. Unless someone is shopping every day at all of those stores, they really wouldn't know the difference. It's all about proportion and how it fits on your body. And if it fits appropriately, that's what they're going to notice.
And how can someone assess their body type, at home? How can they go about doing that?
Again, this is a great time to promote what I do. I think for females, you can go to thestylistonline.com. We also have a Facebook page and Pinterest, and there are ways to look at body types and then sort of identify which one resonates with you the most. That's the fastest way to do it. When I work with clients, both male and female, I actually do take measurements of their body because that will tell me a lot about the proportion between their shoulder cage and their hip cage and their waistline, and that definitely determines what silhouettes I'm going to help them select to work the best for their shape.
Nice. Should you dress better than your boss, and is it okay to do that?
It is absolutely okay to do that. I struggled with it personally, especially when I was a young, newer professional, but I went for it anyway because I felt better in what I was comfortable in, and no one will fault you for that. In fact, it likely may get noticed by your supervisor's supervisor, and that will only make them, realize that you care about the position that you're in and you care about advancing. So don't feel like you have to follow the lead of your supervisor.
What about how important is pairing your shoes color with your belt indoor watch?
That is the number one question I get asked. mostly by male clients. I think you kind of want to be in the same general, I'm not so matchy-matchy in that you have to have, brown and brown. Brown and blacks can mix. I think it's always good to ask for a second opinion from someone else, but if you think it looks good, it likely does. A lot of times the belt is so far away from the shoes, particularly for males who are generally wearing pants, that if, you've got a lighter brown or medium brown belt and some dark brown shoes, it's likely going to be okay.
Okay, and then for people who might not like to shop in person, do you have any recommendations for online shopping for business casual professionals?
Absolutely. I would say any of those retailers that I had mentioned, and they're all going to have online possibilities. It's the same in person or online. As long as you're selecting the correct silhouette for your shape, you can't go wrong and you'll have fewer returns. So it's knowing what to purchase on the front end is what's going to kind of make the most of your wardrobe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Are women's suits considered to be more formal when wearing a skirt versus pants?
Not necessarily. I think they're equally formal. I think it depends on what the underpinning is underneath the jacket. Mm-hmm. And we call it an underpinning. That could mean a full blouse. It could mean a shell. It could mean a tank. I think it depends on the underpinning. I also think that buying a suit for a woman is never a bad idea because you can always break it up and make so many different outfits out of it. But for a male or female, you can break it up and make so many different outfits out of it that it, in the long run, is worth the investment.
What are appropriate color matches for black and brown shoes?
In terms of, I'm going to go ahead and guess that that's in terms of what else should go with it. Yeah. So that's an interesting question to answer without seeing things, but generally things that go with brown will also go with black. So if I take, red, it's going to go equally with either color. The dark base color is going to be sort of your personal preference. So in my wardrobe, it happens to be black. My dark base color happens to be overall black, and I piece many things with that. But if I were to swap out my base color for brown, I could still likely use many of the colors that I have in my closet to go with it. It's pretty neutral.
Can you describe a little more about seasonal tops that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, and really the only thing I meant by that is the weight of the top. So, we're currently in Minnesota in the Midwest, and I think we're going to have winter sometime soon. So we're sort of considering warmth and what's going to work best for us. So for us, it would just mean, sweaters or long sleeve pieces versus something sleeveless or a little bit lighter. And that's just what I mean by seasonal. Although when I'm going through someone's closet, I generally, if they separate their wardrobe by season, I shake it up and put it all back together in one wardrobe because I really think that you can take pieces and warm them up for winter. So I don't like it separate. I like everything together to maximize what you have.
Okay, and what type of effect does vertical stripes have versus horizontal stripes? Especially if the person's taller, is there one style of stripes that's better?
It will depend on the thickness of the stripe. I actually love these questions. They're so fun. Obviously, for someone taller, yes, it may elongate them depending on the thickness of the stripe. So I may suggest the vertical stripe for someone who is of shorter stature and may want to increase their length. If it's a pinstripe, I don't know that it matters on someone who is blessed. I always say blessed with length. And then horizontal stripes are a question I often get because people are afraid to wear them and they think that it makes you wider. That's not necessarily the case. I think you can wear a horizontal stripe underneath as the underpinning and have something over it. And as long as what's over it is the right proportion and the right silhouette, the horizontal stripe underneath will not make you feel and or look wider.
What would you advise for a like a software or tech office where the standard wear is, t-shirt and jeans?
I would say if you are hoping to remain in that environment and get promoted and continue moving up, I would bump it up a notch from the t-shirt. I think denim, again, denim fits in a lot of different areas. Darker denim is going to go further for you. But I would say, particularly if you're client facing, think about wearing a jacket. It doesn't have to be a suit jacket. It can be something a little more casual. But I think it just has a greater presence overall, particularly if you're client facing or if you are having a meeting with your supervisor or their supervisors. It's generally a good idea. And really, in the end, it will just make you feel better. So, I work from home a lot. I know that when I do, if I dress like I'm going somewhere, I perform better, even though it's me alone at home. And I would suspect the same would be for you in an office environment, even if you're in a cube or you're non-client facing.
Can you talk about the appropriateness of women's boots and pumps in the office?
I think it's going to depend on the environment in terms of pumps. Generally, if you're an attorney, you're probably going to be wearing pumps, particularly if you're like going to court or you're out in public a lot. That's generally something that will happen. Pumps in other cases can work. It really just depends on what field you're in and if you're comfortable in them. Boots, I would say there are so many boots and booties out there. And for males and females, there are some great men's boots out right now that can still look really sharp in a professional environment. So I'm pro boots. It's all about sort of being comfortable and having the boots look polished.
What is your take on facial hair in the workplace?
So I think, facial hair is such a big thing right now. I mean, if you think 5 years ago, we wouldn't even be talking about it. Facial hair tends to be really common. I think it's absolutely appropriate, assuming that it's taken care of and groomed well, and groomed often.
Great. Thank you for answering all those questions. We actually got through all of them.
So good.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, and thanks to the audience for all of your awesome questions. I'm learning a lot as well. Awesome. Okay. That concludes today's webinar. In closing, members of the University of Minnesota Alumni Association make initiatives like this possible. So thank you again. If you're interested in joining and you're not a member yet, visit umnalumni.org/membership. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.